Danes pa začne malo drugače. Pozdravljene in pozdravljeni v že 5. epizodi podcasta Mreže občanske znanosti Skupaj do odkritij. V tem podcastu raziskujemo oziroma spoznavamo projekte občanske znanosti, ki se odvijajo v Sloveniji. Ampak tokrat imamo z nami Marijo Rubio, ki pa prihaja iz Kolumbije in zato bom kar hitro se predstavila na angleščino. Hi Maria.
Hi Zarja.
I just did a short introduction in Slovene, so about our podcast from Citizen Science Network in Slovenia called Together to New Findings, Together to New Horizons. And I am very happy to host you today because I think you have an excellent and very interesting project for all the cyclists or all the urban cyclists around the world, not just in Slovenia. And before we start, how are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm very happy to be here.
And you come from Colombia, I already mentioned that. And you study urban cycling. We're going to explain a little bit about this a bit later. But what are your research interests? How did you start? What do you do?
Okay, so my backgrounds are in social sciences, social policy, public health. My main interest since I finished studying anthropology has been understanding how urban policies, urban programs that actually are not originated in the health sector have impacts in the health of inhabitants in the cities. And for some people, this means higher risks, and for others means higher benefits. So basically, I'm interested in inequalities in the cities and health impacts.
And basically how to improve cities for everyone.
Exactly, yes.
And in Ljubljana, you are based at the Inštituta Jožef Stefan. You are a doctoral student there, right?
Yes, I am a research assistant and PhD student. I am currently doing my 3rd year.
Okay. And as part of this PhD, you also explored cycling in Ljubljana and cyclists. How did you find yourself on this intersection of urban planning, public health, cycling, maybe also environmental stressors?
Well, my main interest has been promotion of active travel as one of the healthy behaviors that we can promote to improve cities equally, to promote health in the cities equally. So this project is very interesting because we are using citizen science as a framework to collect data on the exposure to air pollution, specifically particulate matter 2.5 and noise. And cyclists, they are collecting the data using their normal routes, the ones they use to commute daily, and they carry the sensors. And in the process, we are also evaluating through ethnographic methods and interviews, workshops, how this experience of carrying the devices is an intervention itself. So how this is also promoting environmental awareness. And we started wanting to understand how people choose their routes when they cycle. Are they aware of this exposure to noise, to air pollution or not? So we have been finding very interesting results in terms of how people move around the cities and how people are perceiving exposure.
Yeah, you said active traveling. What counts as active traveling? Okay, obviously cycling. We spoke about cycling, but I guess there are other means of traveling in the city. Walking?
Everything that is non-motorized.
Okay. What about, in Ljubljana currently, electric scooters are really popular. Does that count as active or no?
Not
no,
really.
Because you're not using your...
Exactly. You're not doing physical activity.
Okay, so physical activity.
This is a real important issue globally because of sedentary behaviors are growing. So we need to promote physical activity among every age group around the world.
But then in the cities with maybe some water bodies that also swimming or rowing would be also part of active if they would be using it as a commuting thing. Okay, so you already talked about that you study cycling with sensors, how that impacts their behaviors. So we have a cycling lab in Ljubljana, right? I mean, you sort of created your research group, the research group you belong to created this cycling lab. Could you tell me more about it? Because I know that research group before studied the air quality or the noise pollution in the city. But recently you started with Urbanome project with the cycling community and especially cyclists. So how did you approach this? Where did you find the cyclists to wear all this equipment we're going to talk about later? How to go about finding citizen cycling science or cyclist citizen scientist?
Sure. So the broad context is Urbanome, which is a European project that is interested in studying how different behaviors, policies, interventions in the cities have impacts on the health of the population. So this project took place in 9 different pilots in Europe, and Ljubljana was one of those pilots. And in each city, they chose a different topic and intervention to study. So, for example, in Italy, they studied how the pedestrianizing an area surrounding schools could reduce accidents, reduce noise pollution, air pollution, and improve the quality of life in this area. Other cities, for example, they studied how e-bike programs were also increasing well-being of their inhabitants. And in Ljubljana, we decided to choose for urban cycling and to measure how the exposure to pollutants was affecting the cyclists.
Okay, and you were interested, so cyclists, let's just first go to the citizen scientist part, because I know a little bit about this project, and you gathered, I think, 200 cyclists or something like that, which is like quite a big number for Ljubljana. We need to know that in Ljubljana we have around 300,000, a bit over, I think, residents, maybe 350. So 200 really engaged citizen scientists, because I think you will explain later, they had to carry this measurement tools for quite some time. So it wasn't like just a simple 1 hour experiment or something like that. So how did you find those 200 plus, or how many citizen scientists joined your project?
Yes, so we wanted to create an urban living lab, because in each of these 9 cities, we had to create an urban living lab. That was the method that we had in common. So in Ljubljana, we decided to start by talking with stakeholders who are interested in also the promotion of urban cycling. So we had a kickoff meeting with different organizations, and also we established with them potential partnership options. So they helped us disseminating the project so we could find the cyclists that are regularly commuting using their bicycle. And we prepared all the materials, we shared this with them, and they helped us circulating it on their social media. And yeah, we did the project for 1 year, like the data collection. So it was, let's say, using batches. So 20 cyclists would join this week. They would be collecting for data for 2 weeks, then they would finish and a new group would start. And like that, we managed to get to 205 participants. Good. So it's a really good number.
So almost 10 batches or 11 batches. Yeah, that is a really good number, especially because what did these citizen scientists need to do? So first of all, they came to you for a workshop, and then they... what did they do? So they were... The requirement was, as far as I remember, you need to be a cycling commuter to work and back, and do that at least 3 times a week, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So what happened? Okay, let's say you feed this. I feed this requirement. What happened afterwards?
You would come to our office. So we were making individual appointments, because at the beginning we tried making them like a group, and it was not feasible because there are too many devices that we have to connect. It was a mess. So individual appointments were the best strategy that we found. So you would come, meet with us, we would present each of these devices. So if you have seen this is the Atmo tube. So you just clip it on the backpack and you carry it with you. So we would ask you to please charge it very digitally to make sure that it always has
and
battery.
And what does it measure?
This measures particulate matter 2.5.
These are these matters in the air that are bad for our health as well if we inhale too many of them.
Yeah, because they are the tiny ones, or the ones that can stay in the
and they come into air because of our transport, so cars and especially
road traffic
sources and any burning of wood as well, right?
Yes,
yeah.
And also industry
also, yeah.
Yes, exactly. And it also captures VOCs, volatile organic compounds, which we were not interested to really follow up in our study, but ended up also being very informative to people because they could notice how well they were cooking and they had the device nearby. It would indicate, so they would more aware of how
and maybe open the windows
or changing.
Or starting the air filters. I don't know how they're called in the kitchen. And
ventilation. Opening the windows is the best thing we can do.
Okay. Okay. Oh, that's interesting. So people found the use for this from these devices in other circumstances of their life as well, not just on the
really
bike.
Raising awareness of air quality indoors, outdoors.
Oh, that's fascinating. Did they wear any other?
Yes. So we gave them this microphone with a cable. For those who had iPhone, we also gave them the phone because the apps that we are using don't work for iPhone. So they would attach this microphone to the helmet, looking backwards. And they would start the application, the noise capture. They would start the measurement when they started cycling, and then when they stopped, when they arrived to their destination, they would stop the recording. So here you start recording and you put it on the backpack, you do your normal ride, and you arrive, and that's it. So this was giving us the noise measurement.
Okay, so you're interested in noise and the air quality, basically.
Yeah, and we also gave them this Fitbit because for the estimation of intake, so how much of the particulate matter that we are breathing actually we are taking inwards, we need heart rate in the equation. So this device would provide us that heart rate.
Okay. So they had to basically start sort of like a sports session when they started cycling, and
not necessarily, because these ones are already very
precise and notice the differences in movement
to identify when you are cycling.
Okay. And then you got all these. I mean, this was a huge amount of data, like 200 cyclists, and then all these data points. I can't imagine.
Yes.
And you mentioned you also did ethnographic data. So you also did interviews with them. So each cyclist was wearing this or carrying this for 2 weeks. And then they returned the equipment, and then they joined focus groups, or you did ethnographic research with them. Did you do them already during the cycling or afterwards? How did that go?
Yeah, it was a mix. So with most of them, when they finished the collection of data, they would come and return the devices, and we would ask them some questions like, what was the hardest part? What did you learn? What surprised you? And then with some others, we did ride-along interviews. So these were 10 ride-along interviews that I conducted. So I would arrive to their workplace and ride with them on the route that they would like to take me, and they would describe the features that they would enjoy and that they would identify as something negative that could be improved. So this was a very important source of data, particularly for me.
Ride-along interviews, can you elaborate a bit more? So how did this, you met them, and then you asked them about your experience of the surrounding, what bothers them, what do they like on their routes? What did you find out with this kind of study?
We found that most of the cyclists, they already intuitively choose quieter routes, even if they are longer, because these are commuting routes. Then you get to a point where, of course, you want to be fast, but you also realize, why do I have to ride next to the traffic if I can just take the other route and I'm going to have a better experience and get more relaxed to my job or my house. So this was very interesting to find out. And also some people, they were prompted by using these devices to change their routes and to incorporate greener sections, quieter sections, because some of them were comparing the data they were getting from the measurements. And others, even if they were not comparing the data, because not everyone is interested on taking a look at it in detail, but they were more aware, also with their physical senses, like smelling or noticing maybe the features in their route.
That's exactly the next question I wanted to ask. Recently, we had the 3rd Slovenian Citizen Science Day, and one of the speakers mentioned that one of the highest motivations for citizen scientists to take part is actually just curiosity about the research, or just being curious, and they join the citizen science project. But what motivated your group, you think, or what did you find out motivated them to join you? And then I can already see that they got some results out of it just because they were more aware of their surrounding. But I also know that you were developing some kind of platform where they can get more information about the data they collected. So can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, this is something that has been also found in previous similar studies, because this research on urban cycling has been growing for the past decade. And we included a question in our survey about, is cycling part of your lifestyle? And 90% of our participants said yes. So this is something that has been reported previously as well. So cycling is a political decision and it's a lifestyle, because people do it for environmental reasons, for economical reasons, for well-being. So they were committed to collect data and to also put out there on the public discourse cycling. Cycling as a valid mobility option, and one that requires more investment and equal opportunities as the other types of mobilities in the cities. And this is something that is happening globally.
Yeah. And so they got also this sort of like activation back. They got they were sort of validated that it is right to think about active commuting and active moving around the city with cycling. They got more aware of what's happening in the cities. And you also gathered a lot of data, from ethnographic data to all these measurements. How is it with these data? How do you know that they are, how can you make sure that they are validated, that they are robust enough to get some conclusions out of them? Because somebody might say, oh, only scientists know where to put the air, only real scientists, professional scientists know where to put the real noise sensors or air quality sensors.
Yes, so this project had different layers of data, and all of them valuable from different perspectives and disciplines. So, of course, we have a lot of data in terms of the air pollution, the noise pollution, and also, as we were saying, the personal experience, and also all what happened during the workshops, all the discussions. This is contributing already to better understand what are the next steps in the scientific approach to this topic, specifically here in Ljubljana.
And also maybe...
But, I got lost a little bit in your question.
I meant more like... So, because there is so much data, right? And like, how do you ensure, I know they came to you, each individual citizen scientist, and they had to make sure that the sensors are on the right place of their helmets or on their backpacks and things. But maybe there are some mistakes that wouldn't happen if a professional scientist would be doing this data collection. Or how do you make sure that there is no noise in your data, basically, that it is all its high quality data, or like...
Yeah, well, so most of the studies, they follow a different approach, which is they define the routes, the scientist himself, herself measures, and they control.
Yeah, exactly that.
But we didn't go for that approach because we wanted to go all in with the citizen science approach, having real data, like which are the real routes that people are taking when they cycle, how do they decide to go on one way or the other one, because this way we can also better understand how people in Ljubljana cycle. So this is also very important for us to understand where do they go and how the exposure changes. One of the main results is finding out that people choose secondary routes, and they go through parks, they go through wide pedestrian areas, and this is also important input for infrastructure design. So
exactly.
If we want to design better bike infrastructure in Ljubljana, we should start by working with the cyclists, because they are already going through spaces that people who usually just drive or take public transport wouldn't imagine that that's how the network of the routes for cyclists are.
Yeah.
So that's what we really wanted to capture.
Okay, yeah. So you wanted to see real data, how real people do it, not if you say, okay, now I'm going to decide on a perfect green route from point A to my workplace, and I'm just going to be cycling up and down here. Because I guess sometimes, I know at least for me, I use bike a lot to commute in Ljubljana actually, and sometimes I just get bored of my route and I try to use a different route basically.
Exactly.
So just because I have time, or like I want to have a better experience.
And you are right. It came with a huge challenge that we are still figuring out how to address, because we have a lot of data that we almost have to check manually, participant by participant. Okay, these are the commuting ones. These are other recreation routes that the person did. This route. So we really have to filter a lot, clean a lot our database. But that's what we wanted, to have the real routes. So some people we had the case with 2-3 participants who took the devices, but the data was not recorded. Some other devices were not calibrated in the moment. Like, for most of the data is good quality, but in the process, of course, we need to realize that some of it is not. And this is part of any real life, real world project.
Yeah. And luckily you also had 200 participants, which also helps you with like if there are any data. It has been. So as far as I understand now, you do want to translate research findings not only in the scientific output, so like scientific articles, presentation at conferences, but also to influence city policies. I guess that's the aim of all the pilot projects in the Urbanome project.
Exactly. Influence policy making, but also influence people's daily choices. So working at those two levels at the same time is challenging, because you have to develop a certain language for each target audience. So for policy, it's important to get to the indicators that are meaningful to them. For example, if we take a look to bikeability indexes, or
what is bikeability?
Bikeability are like a set of measures that are used in different cities to assess how bikeable is a city, how people can use the bicycles to move around, like what's the quality of the infrastructure, the layout of the city. But none of these environmental parameters are included. But it's more about the design, the physical infrastructure. So that would be a potential impact that we would like to contribute. For example, how can we design 1 or 2 indicators that can be included in those kind of measurements? So when they are going to design a new bike lane, bike path, they consider this, like, okay, let's make sure that the cyclists are going to be separated enough from the motorized traffic so they are inhaling, or they are less exposed to particulate matter and noise. So this kind of statements that seem to be very obvious, actually, they are not there currently in the policy.
Maybe they only now they started thinking maybe about the safety of cyclists in terms of like being apart from the motorized. And even that, sometimes I'm sometimes really surprised in Ljubljana when we have like a road that used to be for 2 cars, and now somehow they squeezed in a line also for cyclists. And obviously it's not really safe because it's on the road. So I think there is a lot still that municipality needs to think about when it comes to cycling routes.
It's not even necessary. Maybe think about of a parallel street, a smaller one, going through parks, along the river. There are other options.
Yeah, much better that maybe some cyclists discover on their own.
Exactly.
Because of the way we cycle. I had another question and I forgot. Oh, I know what it is. Before we started recording this, we were talking about like, I was all about like, oh, so when there is more of these PM2.5 particles matter in the air in the winter or in the summer, when do I need to look? Where do I cycle? Or when do I even cycle? Do I cycle in winter? I was all panicky about this data, but you said to me something very interesting that I think is going to stay with me. So what should I do? Should I really care about that? Or just knowing that when I cycle, I'm more active and that's better for my health? Which one is it?
Absolutely. Keep cycling. That's the best thing that we can always do. Keep cycling. In winter, the air quality is not as good as we would like it to be, but it's not as risky as we might misinterpret the data. So it's better to keep practicing this active travel because we need the physical activity levels.
Because like the health would be impacted also if I just become sedentary, work in the office instead of like do at least a little bit of
winter.
Especially during winter, yeah.
You
Do at least this a few hours of weekly activity on a bike when I commute, and maybe just be more wary of the surrounding and choosing a green paths or greener paths, quieter paths.
And the evidence is pointing more towards noise. Reducing the exposure to noise might be more feasible, and the evidence is not enough clear like to understand what are the health impacts of noise exposure, but we do know it has an effect on sleep quality and stress levels, cardiovascular disease risk. So reducing our exposure to noise is important.
And maybe it's also a bit easier because you do hear it, because like with the air, you don't really see these particles that you would know how many of them you are inhaling or not, or we don't have like a measurement, but like with the sound, we do know. And it is true, like if I go on a busy road with a bike, then I'm just all stressed because I hear all these noises when I come to the end point of my journey. And that's something. So
all the health benefits of cycling outweigh the negative impacts of the environmental exposure. That's what all the evidence says. So we have to keep cycling, and just if we find nicer routes, that's going to be always better.
Yeah, and then we also have a reason to fight for nicer routes and to demand them as well. Maria, did I forget to ask something? Would you like to end on something? Would you like to stress something else than what we just finished with?
I think this is the main point, because also this is what participants were highlighting, like the importance of having nice routes, serene routes that they can enjoy with greenery, with the definition of what is a green corridor based on what our participants were expressing is a route where you can cycle, first of all, it has to be safe for children. If it's safe for children to ride their bicycle, then it should be good for everyone else. If we are not there yet, then it's not good enough yet.
Okay. I heard that before, that more than a helmet, it's important that places are safe for children, and then that means everyone is sort of safe. We still need to look after one another. Thank you, Maria. I think this was a very interesting conversation. So this was a podcast from Slovenian Citizen Science Network, together to research findings, together to New Horizons. And this podcast is supported by Central Technical Library, part of University of Ljubljana, and the Ministry for Higher Education, Science and Innovation in Slovenia. Hvala, to je bil podcast Skupaj do odkritij, podcast mreže občanske znanosti. Podcast podpira Centralna tehniška knjižnica in Ministrstvo za visoko šolstvo, znanost in inovacije.